links, you join the channel here over on Subscribestar. So what's your target demographic? Like, what's the big bulk of your audience that's going to be putting eyeballs on your show? Young white male audience. Okay, so these are the people who are going to carry that message. I mean, the goal. What's the goal of a show? It's to sell advertising space. So these two characters, actors in the show, these are the ones that are selling to that audience. Why don't you have people who are more able to sell to that target audience? What are you saying, bigot? I'm just I'm saying, why don't you give people not what they say they want, but what they'll pay for, which are two vastly different things, which the Twitter universe does not seem to understand this because Twitter is free and people don't seem to understand that either. They like Twitter support is I don't know how to describe it. I don't say it's paper support, but it's digital support. It's nothing. It's like clicking a heart on a tweet or just a couple of lines of support for somebody. It's just the most meaningless of the meaningless type of support. But like people who have like left wing social media platforms don't get that in a way that they really should. So Frosk nationalism, you got the civilization where the Coke machine is left outside, like in is it Iceland or something, or the civilization where moms could leave their kids in strollers in some Scandinavian countries outside the stores, and no worries. And you got the Coke machine behind the steel cage, which looks like it's some dystopian future, except you realize, oh, that's American cities. Then, to be fair, you have that third civilization, the smart civilization, which doesn't have a Coke machine in the first place. Because why would you allow some, corporate NGO to come poison your people with carbonated sugar water? It's like that's thinking outside the box. It's like, yeah, we don't need a Coke machine at all, and we certainly don't need a Coca-Cola company in our country in any capacity whatsoever. Because there's like literally nothing they sell that you would need. It's funny. There's a meme that shows what European fashion was like and clothing was like. The average costume of Europeans were like pre-Levi Strauss, and then afterwards, it's like, oh, that's how you use commerce to destroy a nation. It's like to stop that would be fascism. Like, okay, then I think you're going to need a little fascism because otherwise, you're allowing these corporate NGOs to literally just go through and be the secret rulers of your country and completely destroy countries. Looking at you, Canada, America, Europe, Australia, Iceland. You get the idea. So you got the civilizations, and then you have the Frosk civilization. And no, I don't, or Cecil, I don't think civilization needs either one of these people. It's funny to think about Coca-Cola. You're like, yeah, really. Like if you had a country or if you had a state within a country, and you go, yeah, we don't actually need any Coca-Cola like in the country at all. Like if we don't have like small markets make a soft drink. It's like, would it be better to have a series of small, like independent town-based stores, like soda jerk stores doing that kind of stuff? And like, what about like Nike? Nike makes clothing and shoes. Is like, do you need a Nike? Like, I mean, a global NGO, $1 trillion company, or could you have people on a large enough scale to make their own tennis shoes? Like, would things be better if things were different? Like, what if we weren't actually ruled by these trillion and billion-dollar NGOs? What are you saying? You can't possibly be against. And this is where the left wing will come to the defense of Coca-Cola or Nike. And you look at the left wing nowadays, you're like, what the fuck happened to you people? To be on the right, like a far right wing Hugo Boss, to be now means that you're like you're further left than the left wing is now, at least in terms of authoritarian. Yeah, to free speech and like small independent businesses. That's exactly what the Nazis wanted. I feel like the left has lost its way. The current left shouldn't be further to the right than the current right. Anyway, so all this stuff has been this has been covered already. I get that, but I really hate these people, and I wanted to know kind of what was going through their minds where they thought that they could be such jerks to their audience, and their audience would be cool with it. I see stuff like this, and it makes me realize that we are on different pages. We're not seeing the same world, and like we even have different definitions for words. The left has one definition for those istophobic terms, and the right has a different definition. And then in my world, I think those words are cultural Marxist control terms. They're not organic, evolved language. So I'm saying there's such a schism between us, and it leads to a lot of conflict because people are trying to navigate this world where we literally have different definitions for words, and the left wing hears that, they go, but our definitions are correct. We're not seeing the same world, and as people point out, the show was doomed from the start, which is the more interesting point, because now if you're pretty, and that's not her, that's not what she's selling. Though I'm sure she had a pretty decent body, and if you had a body, you'd get on Twitch and you'd act like an idiot in a bikini. The hot tub streams, it will literally make you a millionaire. I think allegedly Twitch was set up like DLive. It was supposed to be like a video gaming stream, and then chicks got on there and they just, I mean, do chicks ruin everything? Yeah, pretty much. They got on there. It's like, well, so what happened to Twitch? It completely turned into something else. It completely turned into girls doing like body painting, makeup, and that is not to be a young male like watching women on the internet. And that's a kind of a deeper, darker topic. And that you think the system, the machine, this globalist corporate machine wants young men watching women on the internet instead of being with their own young women is it's a it's a it's like it feels like a country without that doesn't have a way to defend against this. It just becomes a corporate NGO run country, a commercial enterprise run by the people who can pay for, banks and large tech companies. Anyway, so there's no way that you would do a show if you're some hot chick, like a show like this, unless it was just a guest appearance. God, you're ugly. Unless it was just a guest appearance every so often. Because the only people who are going to be going on shows are going to be, who can go on like YouTube shows, are going to be like ugly YouTube people who are either funny or knowledgeable. They bring something to the table, but it's not good looks. They can do well. There's a ton of YouTubers who've got, 500,000 sub channels that are doing really well. But a Twitch girl in a bikini is next level. Like if you're, of age and you're on social media and you've got a body, you're just printing money. It would cost you money to do a YouTube show. Like you might do it to get a different audience to bring them into Twitch or whatever. But now I wonder in what nation hot tub horse streams would be banned. But that's probably the best nation where you have a country that has a backbone that can just shut down corporate oligarchies, NGOs who are actually secretly running the country. Oh, you're saying you don't want to be run by big tech and the bankers. You want to actually be a nation. Yeah, yeah. It's like even Orwell couldn't envision a world like this because even in his dystopian future, it was still a government. It wasn't. You weren't run by Facebook and Bank of America or the central banks or whatnot. Anyway, so yeah, hot tub streams. The best nation would be banning that kind of stuff. It's like, oh, sorry, this isn't Levi Strauss is not in the interest of the nation. We want small fashion designers. We want people to maintain their civilization, maintain their culture. We don't need Nike. We don't need Levi's. We don't need Coca-Cola. We don't need Facebook. We're gonna do something on a smaller scale, and it's gonna be managed. Like, but that's not a commercial NGO run oligarchy. Yeah, yeah, and that's a good thing. So it's not just the changing tech that doomed the show. It's how the soy boys and cat ladies treated their audience. And then like she's a head case. She's not playing with full deck. That's not the issue. Someone hired her. Someone interviewed her, talked to her. They knew her background. They knew she wasn't playing with the full deck, and they put her in place anyway. That's more the issues. The weird thing about the left is they've forgotten that reasonable people may disagree without being disagreeable. That not all of their audience is on the left, and not everyone is intolerant of right wing views. That we respect diversity of thought. The left wing used to respect diversity of thought also, but the left wing is not the left wing anymore. Of course, the focus is on Frosk giving her lecture about an eye candy show that was an eye candy show. The past hosts were all just tits and ass girls. That is no longer an eye candy show because she's on it and she's not, where she insults the audience, but then she says like, well, if it doesn't apply, let it fly. Dear idiots, that is not how you talk to an audience. The issue is, why would you think that you could talk to an audience like this? How far deep in an echo chamber do you have to be to think that it's acceptable? The difference in these types of public figures now and a few decades ago is that the participation trophy generations grew up and they can't control their emotions. You got these people who have been fully immersed in globalist brainwashing their whole lives. And on the West Coast, it's like there's a big chunk of people who are, it's like 50 and under, who are this generation of people who, if they go outside their echo chamber, they have an emotional response, where like diversity of thought, the idea that different people can think differently immediately gets an ad hominem response from them because they haven't learned how to engage like an adult. The media has convinced them that they're the heroes in their own imagination and that they're fighting fashionable ones. But you explain that they're on the same side as the FBI, ADL, ACLU, SPLC, all mainstream social media, all mainstream media, and every public corporation that has a social media footprint. That they're raging for the machine and speaking pre-approved truth to strawman power, but not actually truth to power, because that's probably istophobic. In their no, we're not going to go after the 1%. We're going to go after like the 2 to 3% and just fiercely focus on that. Anyway, so they have this Marxist politically correct worldview, but it's false, like Marxism. It believes people are one way, but they're not. Humans and tribes are not fungible. Men aren't women. Most of the theoretical nonsense that this current crop of kids and adults with childlike levels of maturity believe has been tried before. If you're of a certain age and you lived through the Cold War, you know what I mean, which there's a lot of overlap between that participation trophy generation and the same people who are under 50, at least on the West Coast, who lived through the Cold War. They had all this stuff going on together. It's like, I think they're still suffering the post-traumatic stress of, being the latchkey kid generation. It's like, God, America's so fucking dysfunctional. No, you're not going to save all America, but you might be able to take a few states and save part of it. Anyway, so to see this new face of Bolshevism is like watching a lesson in failure. It'll be different this time. No, it won't. I mean, it's been done before for the past 100 years. And I never, you never talk to them on social media because they just block you. And you go like, yeah, but wouldn't the Italians, the Japanese, and the Germans, they say like, oh, well, but fashionableness will just be different this time. We'll do it better this time. And they look at you like, oh, I've never considered that argument. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. See you guys next episode.